Let's talk about mock interviews, what they are and what they aren't. But before we get there, I want to talk about skill decay. Basically, interviewing is a skill. And just like any talent, skill, or activity, you can essentially lose that skill over time. When we don't practice a skill for an extended period, our ability to perform it declines due to lack of reinforcement and memory degradation. So, this is Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. It is a real thing. So, if you have not talked about yourself in 3 months, 6 months, a year, it is going to be extremely awkward and uncomfortable and fumbling throughout the entire process of putting together sentences because you haven't done that on the fly before, or at least it's been a few years. So, this is what the relearning effect is. You're basically reawakening skills. Think of it as procedural memory activation. Skills stored in procedural memory can be reawakened. So you can potentially become a much better interviewer if at one point you had the skill to do that. There's also a much faster learning curve if you're doing this again, you're talking about yourself again, not necessarily from scratch, like you're doing it for the first time. Like everything, it does require practice. And once you reawaken this skill, your first interview will be much rougher than your second, and your third isn't going to be anywhere near as good as your fourth and your fifth and your 10th. Hopefully, you don't have to go through many iterations of that, but just remember that you will get better with practice. So, how do I practice interviews? Well, you can certainly prepare and you can review all these different questions that I've given you. You can answer the questions out loud. You can do mock interviews with AI, which I'll show you at the very end, friends, and family. This is the idea of simulation heuristic. We oversimplified mental simulations. And the problem is that practicing questions in your head is completely different from practicing questions in a real environment, in a real scenario with somebody who is completely unfamiliar to you that is staring at your face. It is just inherently different. So, real quick, let me just open up a couple of questions in here so that you know what's in here on the off chance that you're actually going to take time and review this stuff. So, interview questions come in different flavors, and I have included tons and tons of different interview questions based off of different categories. The why they ask is really important to understand what they're trying to get at. And then the things to avoid, I think, are often kind of nice or smart to, yeah, to steer around some of the gotcha or pitfalls that happen when answering questions. This is one resource. There are tons and tons of stuff inside of the guide section, but I hope this is something you'll consider taking a look at. So I encourage people to apply for jobs you don't want. What? Yes. Practice your interview skills when there's nothing on the line. You'll answer real questions and it removes most of the pressure, especially if it's a company that you're like, dude, I could not care less. I do not want to work for the circus. Not my monkeys, not my circus. I'm not involved, not interested. But yeah, I'll take an interview so I can practice. It is by far the best way to do it. So when you're taking interviews that you don't want, consider the types of jobs that you wouldn't apply for. So if you're looking for something remote, then apply for a bunch of stuff that's in person that you have no desire to do. If you're applying for entry level stuff and you have 5, 10 years of experience, then yeah, maybe you'll get called up, but maybe you're overqualified. That's a whole different thing. In a different career field that maybe doesn't have such strong requirements. That can be all sorts of things. I'm not going to put down any career fields. Any industries that you basically have zero interest in, but you keep seeing jobs in that space. Any 100% sales roles that are 100% commission. Any company that's above 1,000 employees, I wouldn't even worry about them being upset that you took that interview just for the sake of practice because one, they're never going to know, but two, large companies lose track of things like this, so don't sweat it. It's all good. Just a quick note on ethics because I'm out in the Nordics and I know that lots of people tend to kind of have like these clutching of the pearls moments. Look, it's part of the game. It's mutually understood by both sides that you may end up talking with people that are not a good fit for the role on either side of the situation. And it's up to you whether or not you decide that it's okay to feel like you're wasting somebody's time. But that is part of their job is to suss out people and ultimately do a lot of these interviews in order to select the ideal candidate. You can reject jobs just like people do every single day, and it allows you to get a better understanding of the workforce, yourself, how you talk, how you interview, the types of questions that you have to field, the things in your resume that people focus on. It really, really helps. And I definitely encourage people to do that. I am 100% certain that if you can't practice with somebody within your immediate circle, friends or family, then ultimately an animal. But if you don't have that either, then I would suggest doing mock AI interviews. There's a lot of tools out there, but also it's really easy to make this happen on your own, especially if you have a premium version of ChatGPT. So I have created this massive list of tools that allows you to basically go in and try it out yourself. I'll walk through some of this stuff inside of the next activity, but just be aware you can absolutely practice for free if you have ChatGPT Premium. And with some of these different tools, they actually have a freemium version, but yeah, somewhat limited. So let's get into the next activity.